And I want to bring up the, okay, let's see, sorry. Timeline, okay, I'm gonna bring up the timeline. So whenever I do a chart for someone, I usually ask them for a timeline, 5 or 10 major turning points in their life. I can work without it, but it's so, when you know a few things about a person, it really lets you see, even just a few things, it lets you see how their chart's working. It really starts to consolidate and confirm how the person works. So when we just go through these things, it's hard to break it down. Sometimes it's hard, you have too much information, but sometimes this is 5, 10, this is 10 things, this is great. So 77 started training martial arts. He learned the martial arts and still doing it. Karate, Aikido, Wing Chun Kung Fu, Jeet Kune Do, and so on. So, and he has his own combination of them. So like the Scorpio ascendant, opposed by Mars, is martial arts a good thing for him. It would center him, it would balance it, bring in people to relate to, but it would keep him healthy. It balances the energy. Okay, so you can see that. They formed the Ozone Software Club for programming, so got into into computer programming and learned the different assembly language in Sinclair Basic in '85. So you look around it, where's the computer program? Well, he's got the Sun, Mercury, and Pisces. In the 4th house, he can get into ideas and follow them. You know, you have the Capricorn in the 3rd house, so you know there's a practical thinking, trying to think practical, do what's practical. He's motivated by knowledge. He's got to build up skills or knowledge or information so he can do some practical things. So it gets him support. So being able to program and other people needing his work, that would bring a great satisfaction, a great contentment, or security, great sense of security. So okay, we're just looking for little things that we're seeing off the top from this. Started making music, had his own band, collaborated with another, did DJing, and for a couple of years. So the music, where's the music? Well, all the water is really moody and emotional. The Leo in the 10th house, the Venus is in Aries in the 6th house to try and have a band to make something happen. And this feeling quadrant is essentially the Sun, Mercury in it, wants to be secure, wants to feel okay, he wants to perform. It's like the kid that wants to be known. But he has the Leo in the middle. So having a band, having his band, that's a glamorous thing. It would go out there. He would have trouble keeping the mechanics of, just straight mechanics of running the band. He'd be more concerned with making it good and playing good things. But you can see the passionate, sexy kind of Scorpio rising, the Pisces romantic, the Cancer moon, the moodiness, and being able to wait and express things and put a band together for the Leos and putting something creative out there. So we have 2 things: the martial arts, where he could be best at it, his own software club, and his programming and the music making. So there's 3 things already accentuating the splash pattern type, 3 diverse interests with a significant investment in them. 93 started with serious and organized spiritual work. Daily routine yoga, Western mysticism, energy healing, cross-cultural spiritual philosophies. So when you think about it, you see the 9th house moon, you see having the different hobbies, having the different philosophies, having a daily routine. This even the yoga goes in like with the martial arts, but it leads to the curious, the thinking, the places, what motivates, what's real, what's true. You see that deep searching side, the Aquarius knowledge, and the Pisces believer. And the moon up in the 9th house, accumulating habits and hobbies that further his understanding. I mean, we could go into this a lot deeper. I'm just touching this quickly. So now, here's an interesting thing. Around 93, after he started this work, he says he reached enlightenment. Well, this is a strong statement. A lot of people would not say reached enlightenment. We're always reaching towards enlightenment, but it got my attention, something really significant of an inner affirmation that would have happened for him at that time. This has changed me forever, and I was a major turning point. I decided to dedicate my life to spirituality. So that was a really strong motivational time. So you can't, the spiritual thing, it's with your chart, you can use a chart going out into the world to make things happen. You can use it to detach from the world and get more to your spirit, but it's hard to say this is a spiritual chart or this is not. You have to observe what level a person's working with their chart on. So we're going to come back and look at these in time, but I just wanted to first make the connection between the things to the chart. The emotional searching, the moon in the ninth house, the understanding, the personal depth of the fourth house, the Scorpio ascendant, looking for enlightenment, looking for a deeper inner understanding. That's strongly in his chart. It would bring a big security. But 6 years later, 99, his fiancée had a breakdown, followed with schizophrenia. It was a major turning of point in his life. So one phase was over. So he had a relationship, it broke. And it, not because of the relationship, because she had problems. It broke up, didn't get married. And this was, we'll see what happened at this time. But the breakdown, we don't see the breakdown so much. We see the Mars and the Saturn. We see the challenges, and the Neptune opposed to Saturn. Maybe you can see a bit of a illness or a complication there. We certainly see it with the Sun, the fourth house, caring for someone, trying to help someone, being there. His Uranus opposed Venus has the shocking emotions. So the Venus is kind of the fool's rush, or the impulsive romantic. And he could go in and be with someone, trying to make it happen. It's acting on it, it's going on it, and it sets up the connection. And yet here it wasn't stable. It wasn't a fair. It was her health broke down. Her mentality broke down, and she would have got help and was not able to get maintain the relationship. Big shock. Okay, so we're seeing a bit of his story, right? You can start to feel the Pisces in this. The mystical depth, the sorrow, the diversified interest. And in 2011, he graduated from positive psychology and stress management from a London college. Took a college in London and studied. So here's another degree in psychology. So another interest came out that he accomplished something with. So there's a person very capable, very has a lot of personal depth, which his Sun in the fourth house implies. 2015, he has a major breakdown. This is the last 4 years. 2017, he graduated in theology from a US-based institution. So he got a graduation, he got a degree in theology. Wow. Well, the Mercury, Sun and Mercury in Pisces, deep down, you can see the depth of the insight. The moon up in the ninth house of kind of the preacher house. You could see he could get the psychology, he got the theology. That's a lot of foundation. That's a lot of depth. Okay, so this is his. Then in 2017, he started studying. He came into the classes and started studying. The stress has been just a year and a bit now, but he's been really intensely studying and getting into deeply and really working on it consistently through the whole year. All right, so this is his bio. So it's useful to make. You're not going to see all the great enlightenment, great points just from the chart, but you're seeing some of the chart and how it's being reinforced, and you're starting to see how this connects to his natal chart. Now, I'm going to take the Saturn graph. Try and move this over a little bit. It's up here. Pull this up here. Yeah, okay, here we go. So make this smaller, it'll fit in between. Here we go. So we got the natal chart here. We got the, actually I want to move this over further. I'm going to put this here. Move this one over to the other side. Okay. Okay, so here we've got our Saturn graph, our lifetime Saturn graph. We put the Saturn's in here down in the bottom. Saturn's here in Gemini, beginning of Gemini. So that's a really independent Saturn anyways. And here's the conjunctions. They happen in 72, they happen in 2001, and they happen in 2030. These are his conjunctions. Okay, and then the squares, the opposition come up, but his Saturn is square his Sun in his natal chart. So his Saturn and the Sun are close to each other. The Sun's at 6 degrees, Saturn's at 0 degrees, so it's a 6-degree orb. But so the Sun lines come, you can see the square from Pisces to Gemini. Now on this chart, on this transit graph, Aries is always on the left and it's going to rest it around like that. So on the chart wheel, it's the opposite way. It just has the ascendant, where the ascendant is the Scorpio. But so you're not seeing the immediate parallel, but there's the Sun, there's the Saturn, and the Saturn, those two, because they're going to happen within a year of each other usually, they'll tend to pile up into a specific year that deals with those crises. So like, as opposed to being spread up. So even though it's a splash chart, because there's a square, these two factors line up closely to each other. So every 7 years, he's going to have a hardworking or Saturn year. And it's one thing to have Saturn with hitting the Sun at the same time. It makes it more serious. It builds these things up to accomplish something, to be serious about something, to be there. So then we put the ascendant, the angles on the chart in. So you see the angles going right across the chart. And you see the shaded half, in this case, on the upper part. So the first 6 houses are on the upper half of this wheel. So the first quadrant, first house, second house, third house, is a personal growth. So we have it written down in here. We have the second quadrant, fourth, fifth, sixth house in growth and capacity, where Sun is, down in the fourth. It looks up in the chart, but it's down below in the dark side of the wheel. So there's the Sun and growth and capacity. Then you have Saturn over here, and it's in the quadrant 7th, 8th, 9th house of functional growth, and the growth and influence for the 10th, 11th, 12th. So we're really not working the houses. We're using the quadrants more when it crosses the angles, when it changes. So the quadrants are the phases and the areas of growth, and the angles really distinctly are the turning points going from one phase to the next. And they're very distinctive adjustments. So with Saturn, there's always kind of a seriousness, a depression, a hard work, then an accomplishment. So, and then a leveling off. So Saturn works that way. It's not just frivolous. It's being prepared, getting results, getting rewards of what you've accomplished, what you've worked towards. But here we have the Saturn cycle laid out. And yeah, it takes half an hour to put this together. So you can, when you're drawing it in, it's fast. You just use a ruler, draw it in, write the dates in. I'm having to do them on the computer. It takes a little bit longer because I have to type them in, move the type to fit in the right places and stuff.